Okay, welcome everyone. We will reconvene the meeting. We actually opened the meeting at 4:30. We have been in closed session since then. And so we will be just reconvening the open session and providing a rise and report. And we have a motion to be passed in open, and it will be on the screen shortly. There we go. Thank you. So this motion we'll be putting a motion forward to pass this in open. Would someone like to make the motion? Deputy Mayor.
That council ratify the tentative settlement reached between Loyalist Township and the Canadian Union of Public Service Employees, Local 2150, for renewal collective agreement from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2027. And the two, that the renewal collective agreement to the satisfaction of the Chief Administrative Officer between Loyalist Township and the Canadian Union of Public Service Employees Union, QP Local 2150, be executed by the Mayor and Clerk.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Willis. All in favor? Motion is passed. There was one other item, and I will just provide a statement on it with the rise and report that we received financial information related to the W.J. Henderson Recreation Center construction project. So with that,
Mr. Mayor, there is a motion that you have to vote on with respect to the technician.
okay, yes, my apologies. So that's before us. Who'd like to put the motion on the floor? Deputy Mayor?
I move that the report from the Engineering Environment Division dated March 25th, 2025, re W.J. Henderson renewal cost disputes be received, and two, that council provide pre-budget approval in the 2026 budget in the amount of $54,000 to fund the environmental technician employment contract extension for an additional 7 months for up to July 30th, 2026.
So moved. Seconded by Councillor Budrick. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay, so now we can keep moving. I guess before I go any further, I probably should explain my attire to anyone that isn't sitting in this chair. As everyone's aware, Napanee Raiders and the Amherst Jets just finished a series of hockey, and I was bold enough to place a little wager with the mayor of Napanee, and in hopes that he would be wearing a Jets jersey this evening, but that's not the way it went out. So I am fulfilling the wager and honoring it, and I will be wearing a Raiders jersey throughout the meeting. And yes, it does itch a little, and if it gets worse, then I may have to step out for a minute, but it's all good. But as I mentioned, when Terry gave this to me, the big winners were the teams. They played hard, and it was good hockey, and the communities. Both communities got to enjoy a lot of hockey. It was good hockey, and anything that the communities can enjoy is great, I believe. And Deputy Mayor?
And the warden, of course, had no favorites.
No, of course not. So I'll be donning this for this evening. Okay, so now for me to get back on track. The next item will be open forum, and I see we did have a couple people register here. Jesse Hudson and Amon, do you wish to speak this evening? Okay, if you just want to come right to the front here, turn on, you can just have a seat where the mics are, turn it on, and that way it'll be recorded as well. And this is 3 minutes. There's no discussion. We received the information, and there is a stop watch on the screen there, but you don't have to pay attention. When it gets close, I can let you know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm assuming it's on. Yes? Okay. Thank you very much for receiving us. We really appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk to the esteemed councilors, yourself, Mr. Mayor, and the directors and the other participants within the meeting. I am a member of the team SWEB. We are a renewable development company. I've had the pleasure of meeting esteemed Councilor Jake Ennis before. I've met you. I know esteemed Councilor Mike Budarak is an acquaintance of one of our landowners, Roger Colburn. We want to be a really strong corporate citizen. The opportunity to develop land for renewable energy is something that I'm very passionate about, and so is our company. And we look for ways to maintain a sustainable environment while at the same time engaging with citizens to allow us to generate an energy product that is not harmful to any part of our society. We want to be part of the community. We want to be corporate citizens, as I said. We'd like the opportunity to engage and work with you, sponsor events, sponsor parks, sponsor hockey tournaments. We want the opportunity. We also want the opportunity to be a fair partner. We are trying to make sure that we are looked at as a vehicle to move forward as opposed to just a piggy bank. And I don't think that anyone would want that. I think that that's not a great relationship. So I want us to have, I think, what would be beneficial to both sides, mutually beneficial for the long run. So I thank you for your time. I really appreciate you allowing us the opportunity to speak. My esteemed colleague, Jesse Hudson, is also on the development team for solar, and we really believe in our product. And I wouldn't be here on a Tuesday night that I drove 5 hours through blizzards if I didn't think that there's a value to presenting to you. So we'd like to make sure that we can build our project, sustainable, service the community, and also make it beneficial for both sides. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. That's all that we have pre-registered. I will just call in the audience in chambers first, and then I will go to the virtual audience. If you're in the virtual audience, you can go ahead and put your hand up so that you're prepared, because I'll be asking for that shortly. So first I'll go in chambers. Is there anyone else in chambers that wishes to speak this evening under open forum on an item that was on the agenda? Being none, I will go to the virtual audience. If there's anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak this evening, please use the raised hand feature and we will bring you into the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone in the virtual audience.
Okay, thank you. So that completes open forum. There are no delegations, so we go straight to items for consideration. First one, Emma Street Local Improvement Special Charge. Welcome. Do you have any additional information or just here to answer questions?
I don't have any other comments.
Thank you. Council, we have the report before us with the recommendation. Would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Broderick.
Thank you, Worship. I would move the recommendation that the report from the Clerk's Division dated March 25th, 2025, Emma Street Local Improvement Special Charge be received. 2, that Council enact bylaw 2025-21, a bylaw to impose special charges for the undertaking of Emma Street servicing as a local improvement in accordance with Ontario Regulation 58606, and that Council approve the funding cost of the Emma Street local improvement through an internal loan in the amount of $458,101.49 from the impost fee reserve to be repaid by the local improvement charge at a rate of 2.5%.
So moved. And seconded by Councillor Ennis. Mover, any comments?
I would just comment that there was no objections to the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconder, any comments? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Independent electricity system operator procurement and municipal support resolutions. Welcome. Do you have some additional information to share at this time?
No, nothing further, just here for questions, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Council? Would someone like to put a motion on the floor so we can discuss this item? Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Worship. Recommendation that the report from the Development Services Division dated March 25th, 2025, Independent Electricity System Operator, IESO, procurements and municipal support resolutions be received. That council endorse the proposed engagement plan for IESO energy products that require a municipal support resolution, and that council provide direction to staff on any additional engagement requirements that should apply to energy projects that require a municipal support resolution.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Councilor Ennis? Any comments from the mover?
I would just comment that staff has reached out to come forth with a engagement plan. I think that's the important thing here is that there's going to be different issues than the previous, I guess, what was it? Would it have been level 1 or the first procurement proposals, and that residents get as much information as possible as this moves forward.
Seconder, comments? Other members? Councilor Bugrick.
Just hope that within the staff recommendations for the following minimum engagement requirements, that we take as council and staff a little more weight into what the staff requirements are, and they're talking about property owners and everyone who's affected in the proximity with a far more weight than people outside of that area, that it will not be affected to a possible project. That's all.
You. Other members? Councilor Willis.
Questions and concerns about this, and but I'm mindful that what we're being asked tonight is just about the engagement
Yes.
process. One of the things is in the proposed engagement process, you talk about letters being sent to people that live within 120 meters. The in Ontario, the setback for a wind turbine right now is 550 meters. So I believe that 120 meters is not nearly enough to cover people that will be affected. Having lived during the construction of an energy project, far more people were affected than the people that were adjacent to that project. I think we have to be mindful of the use of our roads and where the trucks and things that will be building these projects are going to be traveling. So I think we need to be a lot broader in who is advised of the engagement. We have invested in an engagement platform. I would like to see some use of our engagement platform so that we can be assured that all of the comments that are submitted are shared with us. I have a concern, and the gentleman that spoke earlier spoke specifically about having met with individual council members, and I'm concerned about lobbying individual council members, and I don't believe we have a policy or a register for lobbyists, but I think that everything related to these projects should be fully transparent, and all conversations with these providers should be fully transparent. We talk about the resolution, and I know in the LPT1 process, there was a boilerplate municipal resolution that was provided that benefits them, not us. I'm hoping that any resolution we have would cover us and our concerns. Are we required to use their form, or can we create our own?
Yes, through you, currently in the draft documents, there's certain pieces to that form that like you can craft your own, but there's certain statements that that have to be made in order for it to be accepted by the IESO. So we haven't seen the final one come through yet because the final documents have not been posted. Were specific comments from a staff perspective we've made to IESO that we'd like to see more flexibility in how we prepare that support resolution. But they will have set requirements on so far on what they're expecting to see in that.
And I don't know if you can answer this, if I may, through the chair. By giving a municipal support resolution, does that limit our legal standing if anywhere during the process of permitting we want to oppose the project, that something happens?
Through you based on my understanding, it would not, in that there's a specific clause that I know that they do permit to be used in the support resolutions, that it does, that granting it is only for being done for the purposes for them to make an application to the IESO, because they won't even accept an application without it. And that it doesn't exempt, that support resolution does not exempt any other permitting or zoning approvals or anything else that may be required.
So saying we support the project doesn't limit us from stopping supporting it if it goes down a path that we're not happy with.
Through you, I would, Mr. Mayor, I would say that it could be, not if the zoning amendments are required for solar farms, for example, same with wind projects. So they're not permitted as a right in our zoning. So that would be an additional, that would have to be that if that use isn't permitted on the site, then it couldn't happen regardless of IESO.
Do we have an ability, because these proponents are going to take a lot of staff time and normally developers pay for our time. Do we have the ability to recover the costs of our staff time that's going to be devoted to these proponents and answering their questions and arranging for them to present?
Yes, through you, I can say and our finance director can probably speak to when the miscellaneous fees and charges bylaw is going to be brought forward, but we are going to be proposing when that comes forward, I believe within the month, a proposed fee to be added into that charges bylaw for requests for municipal support resolutions to cover the staff time that goes into them.
In your report, you mentioned that there are some restrictions for use of agricultural land. Are we able to further restrict that beyond what is already in the process?
Through you, it would be based on like zoning and official plan and where we permit that from a land use perspective, not from an IESO perspective. So if you would need a zoning amendment to permit those kind of uses on agricultural land. So that would be looked at that time on whether that change of land use would be appropriate or not to allow that use.
Because they're currently prohibited.
Yes.
Thank you. So far, I'm okay. I do believe that there's a bigger conversation that needs to be had in a committee of the whole in the future about how we're going to deal with this. But with the engagement, my two biggest comments are, I think that we need to drive the process. I remember the last LPT one of the proponents, their public engagement was a Zoom call at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I was the only one on it. And I don't believe that 120 meters is appropriate for determining what the affected community is going to be, because the effect can be much broader than that.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yes.
Sorry, if I could just address the lobbying comment that was made as well. We're hoping that by having a clear engagement plan, it will provide council with some support as far as when you're being approached by these proponents, you can say there's a clear engagement platform here, please follow the process. That way, everybody's going to get the same information. So that was the hope by bringing this forward to council by having an engagement process for these types of these projects, that they will help with that piece as well.
I believe that the process should specifically say that individual members of council are not to be approached, so that everything is transparent.
Please don't do that again. Okay. Okay, so you'd like that to be taken back with staff for consideration then to come forward? Okay. Any other members have Deputy Mayor?
So usually I have Councillor Broderick to blame for taking all the questions. But I will say I agree. I appreciate the director's point, and I understand that is part of the intent in this, but I do think we need some more robust parameters about engagement with members of council. And I say that from the point of view, not of, expectations that, anything nefarious is going on, but to protect councillors and to protect the reputation of councillors and council from the public. I mean, if anybody has paid attention to, the Amherst View Facebook page after, Amherst View West has been approved, we've all had big payouts, and, while that's frankly egregious slander, it is what, comes to people's minds, and we need to be extra vigilant about our engagement with proponents. And, I think Loyalist is generally, a relatively small fish, but we're a serious fish and a professional fish. And I think there are other, best practices in other, jurisdictions that can help, guide us in that. I'm not suggesting, one fixed solution. I do know that other municipalities do have lobbying registries or whatever direction it is that we're going. I would just like to see to ensure that there's strong parameters to protect councillors and council as a whole.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Yes, Councillor Willis.
Just one more for consideration in the engagement process is, as we saw last time with LPT 1, all of a sudden at the last minute, council time was being taken with delegations coming and asking for the resolutions. And I think that we should perhaps have some guidelines too about how many delegations will be allowed in any one meeting so that the rest of the township business doesn't grind to a halt.
Thank you. Any others? I just have a couple questions and I do have a comment as well, just before I go back to the mover for final. When the information is going to be provided about like where it is, the location of the installation, the property location. Last time we had very large properties identified and no idea where on the property, which created concern when people thought it could be right behind their house when it may have been quite a distance away. I think that would be good to make a point that the actual location of the installation and not just the property be displayed. And I guess the other thing is the last bullet with the website being developed and everything, the information available. And this may come out when the policy is finally finished, but I just wanted to mention in the past, I believe there was one that came to council or something, and the website had just gone live that day, and there was really no information on it. So maybe we could say the website, all of those details need to be available before the public meetings and before coming to council, just to make sure that all the information is out there in advance, and that can be good for both. Sometimes people will have concerns until they actually get the details and then realize it's not. The opposite is true too. It may raise some concerns or questions that need to be addressed. So those were those. The other is just speaking to the idea of not discussing with council proponents. I do have to be transparent here that I actually do have a meeting scheduled later this week with one proponent that may not be in the township, but wanted me to get an idea of what the concept was. It's a unique feature and contacted me about a year ago. I directed them to staff and said that until they talk to staff and make sure staff are well aware and that they have a good understanding, that I wouldn't talk to them. They came back, I confirmed with staff that they have gone through it, and so in light of what's being said tonight, I was planning on carrying out that discussion just because it's already booked. What my plan was also though is when I'm done, everything I receive or anything will be forwarded to staff so that they're fully aware. I can also send it to council for your information as well if you wish. It's a unique type of installation, so it wouldn't hurt for everyone to receive the information anyway. I was thinking as head of council that I really should have discussions with them if they request it, so. For transparency, I want to put that out there. And back to the mover.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know that since the deputies questioned my ability to make some questions, I have to seriously, a couple of things. Just I appreciate all the conversation we've had here, and I think from my point of view, again, the engagement plan, as best as we can do through all the different media we have. And it comes down to a process, and I don't know which counselor said it, that we control, not that last time some of us were getting calls from different people at home, wherever, who I would say fairly to say were rather aggressive. And again, if the process is open and transparent, I think that's important. And as far as lobbying, personally, I don't question the integrity of anyone around this table if they get a call. And I do appreciate the protecting the counselor and the township and the taxpayers to know that everything is open and transparent.
Thank you. I'm going to just break procedure for just a minute here. We've had the final comment. I just wanted to get a question to the ones that we're talking about counselor interaction. I guess where I'm going with this is, like I said, I let everyone know that I'm planning on having a discussion within the next couple of days. I guess as head of council, I felt that that was my duty to do. So when we say no interaction with council, is that all of council, which would bind myself as well? Or I just wanted to put that out there, and I'm asking that I want to make sure that no one is left out I'm going to be talking to this one. So any in the future would be feeling left out if I didn't talk to them. And it's not, and I was very clear, I always am, that I do not endorse. I do not lobby. I receive. And that's all. And so in my mind, as a head of council, that is part of my position, is to do that. So I didn't want a policy to come out saying none of council if the intent was that I was to be the voice of council. Yes, Councilor Willis.
I think, in my opinion, the difference is because you are the head of council, those meetings will be in your calendar.
Yes.
People have access to your calendar. They can ask what happened at the meeting. I think that's a little different than individual counselors having to field calls and also having different discussions than what is being had in the public.
Is that, Deputy Mayor, is that suitable?
Again, so like lobbying is also not a bad thing. Lobbying is how business gets done, and it gets done in a legitimate way. People have a bad taste in their mouth about lobbying, but lobbying isn't or doesn't need to be a bad word. And I'm not suggesting necessarily that lobbyists can't interact with counselors. I think that, and again, this speaks to, throwing it back to whatever process, we might come up with that's a bit more robust for counselors, it would be at what stage in a process? If there's something before council that's on a public agenda, that's before, before council, that's a different level in a process than something, at the very beginning of a process, trying to, leverage counselors' influence to get something through the door with staff or whatever, it happens to be. Again, it's about protecting everybody in the process. It's not about making the assumption that anything nefarious is going on. And the other thing is, we do want to be open for business. And I think it's no secret, certainly in the the housing development sector, that, across Ontario, there's been friction between developers and municipal councillors. I'm going to say publicly, I don't think our provincial government has helped with that relationship, actually, but it is what it is. And I think all of us want to move in a constructive direction. And so, and I would be one of those people. And like any relationships thrive and succeed and improve if there's shared expectations and a culture of respect, and everybody knows what everybody else is supposed to be doing. And so to me, it's in the developer community's interest as well. So I want to be very clear, I'm as open for business as anybody else. And I think with respect to yourself as head of council, I was going to make the same comment if I'd been first. Your calendar is public, the contents of any meeting in any written form are subject to freedom of information, like I don't have any concerns about that at all.
I just want to be very transparent since we're having the discussion right now. I thought that was the time to have it. And so, okay, that's fine. So we have the motion on the floor. Mover and seconder. I guess it's time to call a vote. So I'll call a question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. The next is motion to request landlord tenant reform. We have the motion before us. Councillor Willis.
I'll move it. I'm assuming the clerk is going to put it up on the screen.
You gotta love it, right?
I will move the motion as it appears on the screen.
So moved. Seconded by Councillor Broderick. Any comments from the mover?
Only that one of the pegs that's going to solve our housing crisis is people putting additional units in their homes that are already existing. And the Landlord Tenant Board has been notoriously unfriendly to landlords, and I would hate to see individual investors suffer what some landlords go through. So I encourage our encouragement to the province on this.
Seconder, any comments? Other members? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Okay. Notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none. Direct motion. Any direct motions to be presented this evening? Seeing none. We do have the consent agenda before us. It's routine items that are all lumped together and can be pass motion altogether, or we can extract individual ones if we wish to discuss them further. Are there any that wish to be extracted? Councillor Willis.
Like to extract 14.2, please.
14.2. Okay. Any other items to be extracted this evening? Being none, I have a motion then for the remainder. Councillor Broderick.
I would recommend that items in the consent agenda dated March 25th, save item 14.2, be approved as presented and that the final necessary action be taken.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Parks. Any comments from the mover, seconder?
No.
Other members? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Back to 14.2, Councillor Willis.
I actually have a question for staff on this one.
Okay, they're coming up, so Welcome back. Please proceed, Councillor Rolls.
Through the chair. I'm just, and I realize that we only have a couple of months of data in here, but it looks like the building permits are down substantially over prior years. And I know that we based the budget for our department on that. What are your thoughts moving forward? Are you expecting this to recover later in the year, or are we going to have an impact on our budget?
So through you, so in doing the budget, we were anticipating a lower number of permits this year based on the market, and our chief building official has a good handle on what's coming up in regards to building permits in the larger subdivisions as an example. And so we did budget a bit less this year of income coming in or revenue coming in from building permits. We also have built up a healthy reserve particularly from 2022 and 2023, where our building permit numbers were like extremely high. And so at the end of the year, if the building budget does have to balance. So if it does not, then we'd have to draw into those reserves to keep things equal there. And generally that reserve is there to account for these ebbs and flows in building permits where, we enhance it up when we have good years. And if there's a bad year, then we can draw from it. From what we're seeing right now, the numbers are lower, even from today and what's coming in because this is back from February, so even the March numbers are as well. So we are seeing that. So depending on the market and what happens, we're aware of some things that are coming up, but we could see the decline in numbers for a bit.
Yep, go ahead.
Is there a point at which a red flag would go up for you and we'd have to look at efficiencies as well as drawing from in the reserves?
Through you at this point, I'm not concerned about trying to find additional efficiencies. What we're seeing, and basically so far the numbers are down, but it's 10 less housing permits than this month than this time last year. So it's not like that significant at this point where I'm that concerned about that. And I would say in regards to that, there's still other, and that's more on like the residential side where we're getting where we do get majority of our permits. Other efficiencies still required in terms of, staffing, for example, the pool permits, the deck permits, and these are still excessive throughout the spring and summer as well, which, and to be honest, actually take more staff time usually than the home permits. So that, that kind of like staffing piece is still required. And I would also say it's also, we're only into March. So the first few months of every building year are always the slowest numbers of the year. So once the next couple months will be really telling, I think, in terms of what we're getting in terms of numbers. But at this point, from what I see, I'm confident that our reserves can generally handle it.
If there's any other questions for clarification? Motion, Deputy Mayor?
So I motion that the report from the Development Services Division dated March 25th, 2025, Rebuilding Activity Report, February 2025, be received for information.
So moved. Seconded by Councillor Parks. Comments from anyone? Call the question, all in favor. Motion is passed. Thank you. Announcements. Any announcements this evening? Councillor Broderick.
Seeing as your worship, you wore the hockey jersey, I got to get on the Loyalist side here, and I want to send congratulations to the under-9 Loyalist Jets and the U13 Navy Jets who won their championships at the Kids for Kids tournament in Kingston this weekend, which is the largest hockey tournament in our part of the province. And further on, in the Intercommunity Hockey League, they had their championship weekend, and our U15 1 team won their division, as did the U15 2, and the U9 won the Intercommunity Championship. And just give a shout out to all the volunteers for minor hockey and any events that happen over the winter so that our kids can play. And also sincere thanks to the deputy for missing the ferry so I could go to the sod turning at Lady Mount Carmel. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Any other announcements this evening? Being none, I just have one, just condolences to the family of Karen Hannah, a local resident, longtime resident. Just condolences to Don and the family. And they were farmers in the area and they worked out as well, but farmers and one of our good maple syrup producers for a number of years as well. So, and it was awesome. I bought it for years. So if there's nothing else, confirmatory bylaw. Someone like to make a motion? Counselor Willis.
I move that the bylaw 2025-23 to confirm the proceedings of Council of Loyalist Township be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal.
So moved. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover? Counselor Broderick, so moved, seconded by Counselor Budrick. All in favor? Motion is